Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Friday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I've actually been looking forward to making this video, and I usually don't write down like a list of notes and like have a crib sheet here to talk from, but today I did. I don't want to sound self-important here or anything, but out of the 2,700 videos I've done so far, I think this video is one of the more important ones. I really think this has the potential to help somebody out there. This is how you go about getting into a detox or getting into a rehab. But with me, it was a detox, and I'll explain everything in a second. But when you get to the point, and I did, when you know you need help, when you realize, I realized that I was in a hole, and I couldn't get out of it. And every day just got blacker and bleaker and more hopeless, and it got to the point where I seriously, I wish that I would just die in my sleep. That's every night. I really, that's the terrible point that I got to. And I didn't know how to get help, how to go about this. A lot of times family members will say, well, why don't you just stop, willpower, or, you got to stop hanging around with these people, or why don't you go to a meeting? Why don't you look up where a local, AA meeting, and that's all good advice. But it's not going to, really, you get to a point, or I got to a point when you're using hard drugs, it gets to a point where you need a lot more than that. You need to be in a lockdown facility, or I needed to be in a lockdown facility. I needed help. There was no way I was going to be able to do it on my own. And for years, I kept telling myself I could do this. I had a plan. And this is part of the spiral where you just get more and more hopeless, because every time you tell yourself, I'm not going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to change, I'm going to do this different, I'm going to give somebody my money, I'm going to stay away from these people so I can't do it. And the next day or next week you do it again, and you just start getting more and more hopeless when you realize that you can't stop, that you realize that you're lying to yourself, and you can't say the feeling. It's a terrible feeling. The person that told me about how to go about this, to go to a hospital, go to the emergency room, what I'm going to share with you guys, actually was my dealer. If you've never been in this world, I'm not saying all dealers are like this, but if you've never been in this world, this was a heroin dealer. Yeah, he was a Latin King, the almighty Latin King nation. He was a member of them. And he was an addict too. And he knew I needed help. He had his business to supply himself. But he knew I needed help. And he told me about this hospital, how to go to this hospital. And so this is not, I'm not making this video in an effort to tell you guys how to game the system, or how to get over on the system, or how to, like shortcuts. That is not the point of this video. The point of this video is for people that need help, seriously need help. Here's how I found the best way to go about it. Because a lot of the stuff I'm going to tell you guys, it took me 2-3 years to figure out, to learn. A lot of times there's not beds available. A lot of times you'll get turned away. And, and in that case, you just feel more and more hopeless. And it took me a long time to learn everything I'm going to tell you guys, like I said. And I'm telling you this in an effort to help people that out there that need help. Here's how you go about it, so you don't have to suffer, and you don't have to sink, because I was at rock bottom, and I just kept bouncing off rock bottom, and I knew it wasn't working for me, and hopefully this could help somebody out there. Okay, when you get to this point, I was using opiates, I was using rock every day, and I couldn't stop. And I was just, ruining my life. And it was every single day. And I told myself, like I said, I didn't want to wake up the next day. Okay, so usually most hospitals will have a detox, a mental health ward, a mental health wing, a mental health floor. Some don't. The smaller ones don't. I tell you guys when I do these videos, I've told you guys before that I've been to 13 detox rehabs. And now that I've counted it up, I think it's actually quite a bit more than that, actually. I've been to Bristol, Connecticut, Middlesex, Hartford, St. Francis, Meriden. That's just 4 or 5 hospitals right there. And if you have a lot of money or you have insurance, you might be able to get into go find a rehab and go in there and begin the whole process in there. But usually, that's like 20,000 a week or God knows what it is. So I would just go to a hospital and go to the emergency room and like with my plastic bag full of clothes. And I'll tell you the best time to go. Because a lot of times if you go on the wrong day at the wrong time, sometimes sometimes when I went to the hospital, I'd be in withdrawals. And you're sitting in a waiting room for 10 hours waiting to be seen. Is just, it's a whole different level of hell. You're throwing up, things are coming out of everywhere, and it's a nightmare. I found this is a hard thing to do too. You go on a day where everybody gets paid. If you can manage to do this, go to the emergency room like on the 3rd of the month. A lot of people get checks on the 3rd of the month, and they're not seeking help until they run out of money. So a lot of times there's more beds available. So you're not going in there and just wasting your time, to go through this whole process for 10 or 12 hours of trying to get admitted and then find out there's no beds. And I actually had a crisis worker tell me there was no beds after waiting like 12 hours. I was in hard withdrawals from heroin. And, I told her, I was like, I want to, I don't know what to do. And she actually suggested to me, maybe I should go home and drink some herbal tea. That might help. Yeah. Believe me, if you've ever been in withdrawals, if you know anything about this, that suggestion is just like, it's the stupidest thing probably I ever heard. I'm surprised I didn't haul off and, well, we'll just leave that there. Okay, on the time of day, if you're gonna decide you need help and you're gonna admit yourself into a detox, and these are locked down detoxes. So when you go in, you don't come back out. These are locked down mental health wards. They call it dual diagnosis, or there's people that are using, or alcoholics, people that are court ordered. There's people with just mental health issues, and then there's people I was considered dual diagnosis, both. I had depression or I was suicidal. Let's talk about that. When you go in, you go into the emergency room. Like I said, the best time to go would be about 4 in the morning, because the emergency room will be empty. And to make sure you get a bed, the best day to go is when people get money, like on a Friday or on the 3rd of the month or something like that. More beds are available, so you're not just wasting your time. You're going through this whole process just to get turned out back onto the street a couple hours later. When you go in and sit down with the person in the emergency room, I didn't do this for a long time, but eventually I told them, how I wanted to end it. Now, a lot of times you don't want to say that. You don't want to sound as bad as you really are. You don't want, you're ashamed of stuff like that. But once I realized, after one time, I actually had a suicide note in my backpack that I didn't even realize was there. And it was serious. I had written this one when I was high, maybe a couple of weeks earlier, and I didn't even know it was in there. And the nurse found it as she was going through my backpack. And I saw a look on her face, this serious look, like she knew, this guy isn't kidding around. This guy needs freaking help, or he's not going to be around for much longer. Once they know that, once you tell them, you share that with them, that you're thinking of ending it, they have to take you in at that point. You are going in. You're going to be on what they call on paper for 3 days. For 72 hours, you're on a whole, you're not coming back out for 3 days. They want to make sure that you don't end it. So you're committed at that point. If you do tell them, but in my opinion, it's best to tell them the truth of what you're using, how much you're using, your state of mind, and be honest with them, because you need help. I needed help, and until I was just honest with myself about it, how bad things were, I didn't get the help I needed. Okay, once you get in there, this is where it gets tough. This is probably the worst part of the whole thing. They'll give you a urine test to see what's exactly in your system, and they'll put you in an observation room. I used to call it a fish tank. It's a room with a window in it, so they could observe you, and they don't start medicating you. So if you're not in withdrawals yet, you will be, and you tend to stay. And a lot of times there'd be like a big room, a big observation room with 5 beds and a window where the nurses just look in and watch you. It's an observation. You're being observed the whole time, and they'll give you food There's no TV. I don't think there's any TV or anything. It's a miserable place to be. And this is where they make sure that you're serious about this. That this isn't just some lark, or they actually pretty much observe you start to go into withdrawals. They start to watch, see what your mental health state is, how you're doing. And it takes hours usually, like I said, and you're not medicated. This is where things start to go downhill. Like I said, if you're not in withdrawals, if you weren't in withdrawals when you came in, you're gonna be in this room. And this is when I just remember it was terrible. But just keep in mind it's gonna get better. I would toss and turn in this bed, and there was other people in the room. You have no privacy. Eventually, if they deem you serious, that you need help, or if you told them that you were going to end it, they'll take you up to a floor. They'll bring you up to the floor. I got turned away. One time I really wasn't serious. I went into the hospital, and I used right before I went to the hospital. And I brought a book with me to read in the observation room, like it was just a big joke, like it was a big vacation. And the nurses, they were observing me, and I was just sitting back on the bed reading a book, like just, thinking that I was a smart guy. I was going to handle this, I was going to go in high and just read through, while they're observing me, and go up to the floor. And they kept me there longer and longer. I was probably in that room for like almost a day, 24 hours. And I started to get, I just got to the point where, I realized this was a bad idea, and I told them I wanted to leave. I changed my mind, and they put me back out on the street. Okay, so then you'll stay in this room for, it could be 4 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, could be 24 hours. It depends on if there's a bed available up on the floor. Sometimes there's no beds available. This happened to me a couple times. And if you're already committed, if you already told them, you're thinking of harming yourself, they'll keep you there, and they'll bring you by ambulance to another hospital that might have a bed available. That's happened to me a couple times. Okay, once you get up to the floor, you're still not going to be comfortable yet. This is where they'll take blood, they'll weigh you, you're interviewed, usually a doctor or the head nurse will interview you. You'll be in a side room, and they'll pretty much check out it. It's an interview. At that point, you're probably more than likely you've been there for 12 to 24 hours at the hospital, and you'll finally get to a bed. A lot of places, I was an opiate addict, so they would treat me with methadone. It would be 3 or 4 days of methadone. They'd start me off at like I think it was like 20 milligrams, and then step it down 5 milligrams each day. 20, 15, 10, 5, and it would be a 5-day stay usually in the detox. Then you have the option, during that time, they try to help you out. They have nurses or people working there to try to hook you up with where you could go directly to a rehab. This is a detox. Then now that you're cleaned out a little bit and the drugs are out of your system, then you're kind of stable and you can move on to actually start the rehab. Here's the thing about the methadone too. I don't know if all hospitals, some hospitals won't give you anything, and you'll have to white knuckle it in the hospital. Some will give you, I believe it was called Klonidine, not Klonopin, Klonidine, and it's just a drug to lower your blood pressure, because your blood pressure gets high when you're going through withdrawals, and it helps a little tiny bit. Here's another thing. I was going into these detoxes every 3 months. They will only give you methadone. I think this is a law in Connecticut. They will only give you methadone 2 times in a year. And I was obviously in there 4 or 5 times in a year. And then after 2 times, they started just giving you Klonidine. And that whole stay in the hospital gets a lot rougher. Because once you get on the floor and you get a bed and they give you your first dose of methadone, things just lighten up a lot, and you come out of withdrawals and the process begins, trying to get your bearings. There'll be meetings, they'll wake you up in the morning, you'll go to breakfast, you'll start you start going to meetings and learn the ins and outs of the 5 or 6 days you're going to stay there, and start talking about where you want to go next. And I'm going to do more videos. I'm going to talk about that stage when you're in the hospital, when you're in there for those 5 or 6 days. And one of the most important video, probably the third video I'm going to do in this series, is when you get out, when your feet, after 5 or 6 days. There's actually one time I stayed in. I was in a 5 or 6 day detox, and I was serious. This was the last time I ever went to a detox. And the nurse or the doctor knew I was serious, and she asked my insurance company if I could stay for 30 days instead of 6. So I spent the whole 30 days in this hospital, in socks on the 9th floor for 30 days. And I didn't want to leave after. I hated leaving after that point, after 30 days. When you leave there, that's when it gets real. When your feet hit that sidewalk and the choice is now up to you, that's the tough part. I'll talk about that in a video coming up. I hope you understood this. This is detox is the first step in getting help. Usually you can't do it on your own. And white knuckling it didn't work for me, or trying to do it on your own or whatever. It got to the point where I needed help or I was going to die. Okay, recovery is possible. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd. Coming up in 2 weeks, I'm coming up on 18 years. Completely clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. And it's been the best freaking years of my life, beyond a doubt. Recovery is possible. I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a good Friday.